Hey, welcome back, everybody. Happy Monday and happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Hopefully, you're all having a wonderful start to the week, and hopefully, really, just your 2024 has started off pretty well. I know mine has been a little bit of a roller coaster here, starting classes and all of that, still kind of trying to get into the swing of things. But again, I've got pretty high hopes that this is going to be a really good year, and hopefully, it's the same for all of you. Now, we do have a good bit going on out there. We still got multiple storm systems to track. We've got one bringing snow and ice and Arctic air currently, another one on the way this coming weekend. That one could bring, once again, more snow and ice to potentially some of the same areas, but I also think some new folks going to get on some of that wintry action, as well as a reinforcing shot of cold air going into next week that'll really impact the East Coast pretty hardcore. And then the good news for all of you kind of spring lovers, after that, there are signs of hope on the horizon as a bit of a ridge looks to build in the 7 to 10 day time frame. Now, if you haven't already subscribed, definitely consider doing so. Like the video if you like it, and comment. Let me know what you're seeing out there. And of course, if you have any cool pictures from all that snow and ice we're seeing, or really just those cold temperatures even, definitely make sure to submit that with the link in the description. With all that said, let's go ahead and jump on into your forecast. Now, starting off with satellite imagery here, we've got a couple kind of big players on the field, if you will, here. We've got this big kind of occluded low pressure spinning away up into Canada. And this is actually having a big impact on our weather here, even in the southern United States. If you kind of follow or trace back the flow to this thing, it goes all the way back down here, really even into the Pacific Ocean. And that is helping to allow these waves of moisture to kind of ride along this Arctic boundary. And that's why we're getting some of that snow and ice here into sections of Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, Kentucky, Arkansas, Louisiana, and Texas. And that will continue to kind of move up into the mid-Atlantic and Northeast going into today. Now, outside of there, kind of way out in the Pacific, kind of hard to tell, but we do have another storm system out here getting its act together and slowly working towards the Pacific Northwest. That one is our next storm system that will once again bring some snow, ice, and rain, depending on where you're at. And then the other thing here that's just kind of cool to look at is if you notice kind of this line where we have almost this stagnant colors here of this blue, that is actually just the air. Those aren't even cloud tops showing up. It's just that cold that it's showing up as very cold cloud tops. But in reality, again, it's just very cold Arctic air all the way down at the surface. Alrighty, now radar, watches, warnings, advisories, and everything else here. You'll notice again, the only real precipitation we have falling is right here in the mid-south, where we have some of that rain, snow, and ice falling. Rain here kind of east of the Alps from southern areas of the Greensboro area down towards Charlotte, just seeing some light rain, and even if that, a lot of this not even really hitting the ground right now. And then back towards Tennessee, Arkansas, northern Mississippi, and Alabama, this is where it's an all-out winter storm. You'll notice here, likely snow here for much of Nashville and Knoxville currently, also back towards Memphis. Probably some freezing rain or sleet down here into north central Alabama, north central Mississippi, and into sections of Louisiana and southern Arkansas. And then that snow sleet line somewhere in between. So again, a lot of folks getting wintry precipitation out of this morning. Now, in terms of the watches, the warnings, and advisories out there, again, a very busy map here. All of these kind of colors here in the Midwest and into much of the Central Plains, these are all wind chill advisories or warnings due to that very cold air that has kind of moved on into the region. And again, dangerously cold. That's why we have those advisories and warnings in place. Now, obviously, these winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings and a little bit of everything else in between here for the Mid-South, Mid-Atlantic, and now creeping up into the Northeast, those are for the winter weather we're going to see over really the next 48 hours. And a place you'll notice that is even getting included here does include the I-95 corridor from Washington, D.C. up through Philadelphia and New York. Going to get some snow today and overnight tonight, and that likely to accumulate to at least a couple of inches, prompting these winter weather advisories. And then back out quickly looking at the west, we do have some new winter storm watches in effect for the mountains of Oregon, Washington, Idaho, and Montana for that next storm system that again is likely to move in about 48 hours or so. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and actually don't need those maps, so we're going to skip those here, but let's go ahead and take a look at the southeast and what is left of this storm system going into the next kind of 48 hours or so as we continue to time out this winter weather. All right, so here we are. This is about what we're seeing by the time you're probably watching this, give or take a couple hours. We've got snow falling over much of Tennessee and northern Mississippi, northern Alabama, and into sections of southwest Virginia. South of there, though, we've got sleet, freezing rain, and kind of a mixed bag of wintry precipitation here through East Texas, northern Mississippi, and again, kind of those surrounding areas. Now, as we move this into this afternoon, another heavy round of precipitation moves on through, leading to, once again, more snow through Tennessee, continuation of sleet and ice in northern Alabama and into northern and central Mississippi. Now, it's at this point, this is about 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock local time here, that this kind of shield of precipitation slowly gets cut off. So, drying out back towards Arkansas, drying out towards Oklahoma, and even into Texas there, as that cold, very dry air begins to take over. Now, going into tonight, again, a little bit more precipitation overriding that Arctic boundary, but that Arctic boundary also continuing to slide south and east at the same time here. And we've got a good amount of freezing rain falling here through Louisiana, Mississippi, and into Alabama, even up into eastern Tennessee, where, again, probably snow there. But you'll notice, again, that final kind of hoorah of moisture, if you will, slowly working on through here during the evening and overnight hours of tonight, before by the time we're waking up tomorrow, all that's really going to be left is a little bit of light freezing rain left over in kind of southern and central Alabama. Potentially, I won't even rule it out, we could see a little bit of freezing rain get as far south and east as the extreme western Florida panhandle there. Not an impossible kind of thing to see here. We'll watch for that. I know a lot of folks in the Carolinas are going to be very upset if the Florida panhandle sees some sort of winter weather and we see nothing. But go ahead and get ready, because that's a very real possibility here. And as we go into Tuesday afternoon, all we've got left is some good old-fashioned cold rain here through the Carolinas and South Georgia, and even into the Florida Panhandle and Peninsula. And you might be wondering, if you're watching here and you're a big winter weather fan, well, why are we not seeing this winter weather? Why are we just seeing a little bit of light rain? Well, it all really comes down to this big old thing called the Appalachia chain here. Unfortunately, again, for our snow lovers, Arctic air is very dense, meaning it can't just kind of go up and over the mountains. It kind of gets stopped at the foothills there into Tennessee, Georgia, and Alabama. And unfortunately, it's just going to take time to ooze over those mountains and kind of through the valleys. And by the time it does, any precipitation that's left over will be long gone and back off the Atlantic coast. And I know I've had a lot of people in the comments from South Carolina, North Carolina, kind of wondering, well, again, when is it going to be our time? I will tell you, I don't think January is really our month in this area. I have been looking at the pattern, though, and I think February, oftentimes, a very good month in this area. And I think if we're going to get a big-time winter storm in South Carolina, maybe Georgia, North Carolina, outside of the mountains at least, it's going to be in that time frame. I think early to middle of February is probably going to be our next really good shot. And I'll tell you from personal experience, my birthday's in early February, and it has snowed on my birthday many times in the Carolinas, so climatologically speaking, it's possible. And just looking at the overall pattern as well, and kind of how El Nino normally shapes up here, again, a very real possibility. So don't lose hope yet. In fact, we've even had big-time snows in March in the southeast. So we still got a good amount of winter and cold months to get through before we start focusing on some of that springtime weather. All right, enough rambling on about kind of the pity that we in the Carolinas have right now. And taking a look at some of these ice totals over the next 24 hours. Again, not a lot, but enough to cause problems. A glaze to 1/10 of an inch the National Weather Service is going for here through much of Louisiana, Mississippi, even into southern and western Alabama here could see a glaze of ice. But the really kind of troublesome areas are going to be up here into extreme northwestern Georgia and northern Alabama, where 1/10 of an inch of ice to isolated spots, getting closer to 2/10 of an inch is not out of the question here, I think, throughout the rest of today before, again, that moisture stream finally gets tapered off and we focus on kind of just that very cold, dry air. Now, taking a look at snowfall totals, again, this is for all of today. So if you're watching this video kind of at 2, 3 o'clock in this afternoon, then, kind of subtract whatever you've seen from the sunrise till then from these totals. But again, overall, what's to come today? A real winter's going to be out here into eastern Tennessee from Knoxville up through Johnson City, Elizabeth City, through the Tri-Cities here. Again, could see another 5 inches or so throughout the day today, not out of the question. And about another 3 inches or so here into Middle Tennessee, and then about 1 to 3 inches back into western and central Tennessee. Same story here for northern Mississippi and Alabama. Now, a lot of this likely falling as sleet, especially in northern Alabama, but northern Mississippi as well could get some more snow here throughout the day today. Alrighty, that's kind of that part of the country. Now let's discuss the Northeast, a place that is also going to get snow from this, and some areas that haven't really gotten much snow this winter, or really the past 2 winters, going to cash in a little bit here. Now, I don't think this will be a blockbuster storm by any means, but compared to how relatively quiet it's been in the winter weather department, this one could definitely be Instagram worthy, if you will, just meaning kind of get some good pictures out of it. And, it'll be a pretty event. Although traffic and travel could be impacted a little bit as well here. All right, this is this afternoon, about noon to 3 o'clock, that general time frame. You'll notice here comes that band of snow out of the Tennessee River Valley, crossing over into West Virginia and Virginia at this point. And it could be snowing here in Washington, D.C. this afternoon, not out of the question. Same story for this evening. We'll see some of that snow kind of continue to work on in. And this is going about the time the sun is setting. We've got a nice little band of snow here into northern Virginia throughout the DMV. Not very heavy snow, but light to moderate at times. Definitely going to be possible here throughout the evening hours. And even going into overnight tonight, that snow now spreading up the I-95 corridor through Delaware, Philadelphia, the entire state of New Jersey. This won't be just a northern New Jersey event. Really much of the state getting in on some snow here overnight tonight. And then that continues to fill in here. And by the time we're hitting midnight, we've got a, really kind of potent band of snow here from Philadelphia back through Fredericksburg into Washington, D.C., up into the Delmarva and through even Atlantic City. Long Island getting in on snow. I'm sure we're going to see very pretty pictures from Central Park overnight tonight with kind of that wintry scene. And really just about the entire state of Connecticut, Rhode Island getting in on this. And eventually, by the time we get into about 3, 4 o'clock, that kind of band of snow pulls northward. So we're now tapering off through Washington, D.C., Baltimore kind of ending that snow, Delaware, kind of ending through New Jersey, north to south here, tapering off into Philly I'd say about, I just said about 20 times, but around 5 a.m., there we go, around's a synonym for about, I guess. We'll try that one out. Here, again, 4 a.m., seeing that snow line slowly pull northward, and by the time that the sun's coming up here, we should be a lot drier from Philadelphia through Trenton, up through Long Island. Again, as that snow band now works north into much of the state of New York, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Vermont getting in on some of that snow. And as we get into Tuesday afternoon here, we're going to get some low pressure to kind of form a little bit better here. Kind of some of those pieces of energy in the atmosphere are going to get close enough and work in tandem enough here that we get a little bit stronger low pressure. That's going to throw a little bit more moisture back, as well as a little bit more warm air. So you'll notice changing over to a little bit of light rain. Not too much, and in fact, a lot of this will probably be dry air at this point. Tuesday, kind of late morning here, as the storm is pulling away, strengthening, getting stronger, and now that shield of snow, a little bit heavier, more moderate to heavy snowfall through much of upstate New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, Boston points west and into Maine here, getting in again on a pretty good little snowstorm here throughout the afternoon hours of Tuesday. This is about the time the sun is going down, that pulling away here. And we should be all dry by the time we get into about the midnight hour between Tuesday and Wednesday, outside of a little bit of lake effect snow left over near Buffalo and upstate New York. And then Wednesday, it looks like a pretty nice day here. This is Wednesday morning. Again, waking up to some pretty nice conditions. All right, snowfall totals through here. Again, it's not going to be a blockbuster storm, but also a storm that you'll probably remember just because of how quiet it's been. And we're going to change that up here pretty big time here. So a place like DC, I think 1 to 3 inches, probably on the higher end of that, 2 to 3 inches, pretty likely. Same story for Baltimore here. A place like Philadelphia, though, up into central New Jersey and kind of into the suburbs here, I think we could see 3 inches. Isolated spots hitting about 4 inches, not out of the question. Again, this is kind of that area where the band picks up in intensity a little bit. And then same story here through Vermont, New Hampshire, upstate New York, into Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts. About 3 inches of snow widespread here. If you want a better kind of ballpark range, 2 to 4 inches, probably going to be more of an average through much of this part of the Northeast. And Long Island, I think New York City, about 2 inches of snow. Going to be a pretty safe bet here with lesser amounts as you get further east there on Long Island, but still going to snow nonetheless. Then the big winners here obviously going to be up in northern Maine as that storm kind of cranks up, pulls away. Half a foot of snow, not out of the question. And we have winter storm watches in effect for those areas because of that. All right, another thing we need to talk about here are these brutally cold temperatures and how long are they going to last before we kind of talk about our final storm system here on the horizon. Well, this is this afternoon. I'll go ahead and move this ahead a little bit. This is kind of ballpark high temperatures today, and you'll notice everyone outside of the extreme southeast are getting in on brutally cold temperatures, including the Midwest where it's dangerously cold. I know the Iowa caucuses are this afternoon and evening, and if you happen to live in Iowa and you're getting out there caucusing, definitely make sure you're playing it safe. Make sure you're bundling up because it is going to be downright frigid through much of this afternoon and evening. And really same stories for everyone kind of in this Arctic boundary. Obviously find where you live and you can find the ballpark high temperature today. But the real winner's going to be in the Carolinas. I know a lot of us, again, are tired of this pesky little bit of southeast ridge holding on here. But if anything, maybe take it with a little bit of a grain of salt here and be happy, because I think come next weekend it's going to be very cold in the Carolinas. And you might be kind of missing what we're seeing today. So if you're in the southeast, maybe try to get out there and enjoy it a little bit. While you're kind of one of the lucky ones in the country. Now that cold air is going to eventually overtake the entire country here, and by the time we get into Wednesday afternoon here, moderating overall, temperatures not as cold, but more kind of widespread cold air, if you will, as that air mass modification begins a little bit, and we start to warm things up a little bit going into Wednesday afternoon. And same story into our Thursday afternoon here. You'll notice even a little bit of warm air now trying to sneak back in through Texas, Louisiana, as a storm system kind of begins to develop in here, and we're going to see some warm air and cold air kind of wrapping around as the storm system gains some strength. Alrighty, so speaking of that storm system, let's talk about it a little bit here. I'm going to back this map up just a tad here. This is going into Tuesday night and into Wednesday, about 48 hours or so from now. And you'll notice this is kind of what we're looking at. We've got a big trough out into the east, and I'm going to pick a different color so you can hopefully see it. Maybe black will show up pretty good here. Yeah, there we go. So again, we've got a big trough in the east. This is that cold air that is going to settle in place by the time we get into Tuesday, Wednesday. But notice what's happening back out into the PNW. We've got a storm system once again getting ready to work on into the country. And eventually that is going to dive on through the Rockies here, going into our Wednesday afternoon. And eventually into our Thursday afternoon. Here we go. We've got this piece of energy, or this storm system, kind of working on through the country, once again bringing snow and ice chances to some folks. But to the north, we've got another shot of very cold Arctic air that's trying to dive downward and catch up to this piece of energy. Now, the big question is that going to happen? Are they eventually going to come into tandem here? And our latest GFS and European both agree that they don't quite completely connect, but they're close. Again, we've got energy here, and we've got that cold air mass right here. If these two can kind of phase together or become friends, if you will, then we could see a bigger storm next weekend. Right now, though, the indication is it's going to be a little bit more of a light to moderate event. But either way, the models agree that trough comes flying southward, and we've got very cold air settling in once again about 5 days or so from now, going into next Friday. So we'll definitely watch out for that. But until then, the big question is going to be, again, does that cold air and moisture connect, or do they kind of stay separated a little bit here? Now let's take a look at it. This is our latest GFS model. Here's the storm in the west coast moving on in here. This is Tuesday night, and you'll notice we've already once again likely got some ice falling here into sections of Oregon and some snow back into the higher terrains with rain at the coast. Now, as we move this into Wednesday afternoon here, we've got widespread snow showers taking over for much of the Rockies, from Washington, Idaho, Montana, into even portions of kind of Wyoming and Utah here, getting in on some of that snow with rain again at the coast here Wednesday afternoon. Now that storm system slowly moves off to the south and east, kind of hard to tell on this map, but here it is at this point. Actually, really, it's kind of all the way down here at this point. But either way, some leftover kind of snow showers here as another storm system looks to move in, going about 5 days from now out into the west. But we'll talk about that in another video. Now, how much snow can you expect out here now through really about, back this up even a little bit, into Thursday afternoon? Again, the mountain's going to be the big winners here. Obviously, this is very elevation dependent, so as I always say, if you can, just go to weather.gov, click on your exact location on the map. It'll tell you your elevation and exactly how much snow you can expect here. But if you're a little bit better with geography and you can pick out your exact town here, then go for it. But again, a lot of snow coming to the high elevations is the big takeaway here. All right, now what is this storm going to look like in the East Coast? Well, here we go. This is where it's going to start. Thursday afternoon, we've got snow breaking out through the Ohio River Valley, sections of Missouri, maybe even northern Arkansas, once again getting in on some wintry action, while we've got icy mix kind of in between and rain here to the south. Now, as I move this further ahead into time, you'll notice this storm continues moving eastbound. Now we've got snow breaking out here into Mississippi, Alabama, at least northern areas of those states. Once again, snowing in Arkansas, snowing again in Tennessee, and still snowing in the Ohio River Valley. Now here we go. This is overnight Thursday into Friday. We've got snow still breaking out into the northern half of Georgia, Mississippi, Alabama, and much of Tennessee. And you're watching this in the Carolinas and Virginia, and you're thinking, all right, it's going to happen. This is the storm. And then here I go. I move this ahead one more frame, and you'll notice it kind of dries up a little bit. And we go even further ahead into Friday afternoon, and really just not much moisture here. We've got the cold air, again, settling in place here. Here's that trough. But here's the storm system, just too far offshore, not quite interacting enough with that trough, and we've really just got some scattered mountain snow showers, maybe a couple flurries into Virginia and North Carolina outside of the mountains, and same story for kind of sections of the Northeast, but really just not a blockbuster storm here on this latest model. And again, you'll notice maybe some leftover kind of scattered snow showers on the backside as that cold air settles in, but nothing really to write home about. And I should add, the European also agrees with that pretty well here, and I can show you that here actually in just a moment. You know what, actually, I'll go ahead and pull it up on the fly here. That's the UK Met model, not the European model. There we go. All right, so yeah, just to show you this on the European, again, it's a very similar story. Let me move this ahead in time a little bit. And here we go. This is going into this coming weekend. You'll notice there's that precipitation, even lighter on the European, breaking out into smaller proportions here for Thursday afternoon. And eventually, going into Friday, once again, really just not much outside of some light snow showers in the northern mid-Atlantic, Ohio River Valley, and Northeast as the storm kind of strengthens and pulls away here. Just not much with that storm system. So we'll continue to watch it. We'll see if they kind of, work in tandem a little bit better here. But right now, the indication is more of a minor event here, kind of going into Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Now, we are still multiple days away. Things can change. But unfortunately for you snow lovers right now, not the best look. All right, so the chance of at least an inch of snow falling here out of this storm system, obviously very high back out here into the Rockies where we have some big-time elevation helping us out. In the East Coast, though, as I move this ahead, chance is going to be the highest, again, in the Ohio River Valley and into sections of the mountains, I think, of West Virginia, Pennsylvania, even a chance of some snow here into the Northeast. Again, once you hit purple, you're getting past 50% chance of at least an inch of snow. But again, this would still be likely a minor event of only an inch, maybe a couple of inches. And us folks further to the south here into the Carolinas, Georgia, Mississippi, Alabama, models really just not liking our chances of snow accumulating to much of anything here. And then you'll notice eventually that kind of moves on out of here going into the following weekend. Now, one thing I can guarantee you about this storm is it is going to, be cold on the backside, definitely, for sure. So here we go. As I move this ahead a little bit, this is going into this weekend. Look at that very cold air take over. Again, this is temperature anomaly. I'll show you actual temperatures here in just a second. But going overnight next Friday into Saturday, we could be near 30 to 40 degrees below what we should be this time of year through sections of the Mid-South as well as up into the Midwest as this reinforcing shot of cold air works in, and it'll hang around for a while here. This is next Saturday. This is next Sunday, and then this is a week from today. That Monday, you'll notice temperatures finally kind of rebound a little bit, and we get back towards a little bit of a warmer pattern in the long run. Now, to give you an idea of exactly how cold it could be, this is a ballpark high temperature for next Saturday. You'll notice the freezing line for high temperatures, not low temperatures, but high temperatures, getting all the way down into the Carolinas, Georgia, Mississippi, and Alabama, could stay below freezing the entire day. And, well into the teens through the Ohio River Valley, single digits in the Midwest and higher terrains of the Northeast. So again, kind of a brutally cold snap here once again next weekend, and low temperatures could be very cold here. That freezing line getting all the way down, potentially as far south as the Gulf Coast, down near Ocala, through, really all of Louisiana, much of Texas getting below freezing next weekend during the nighttime hours. And we're down to single digits through much of the Ohio River Valley, portions of the Northeast, and getting into the negative temperatures here through the Midwest and the higher terrains of Appalachia, even as far south as the Carolinas. All right, now I did say I have some good news for you kind of warm weather lovers out there. This is going into next weekend. This kind of big blue blob, you see, that's that cold air that we just talked about. But after that kind of works on through here, and we get a little bit further into next week and look at this red once again taking back over as we've got a big time ridge setting up shop. That's going to once again allow warm air to overtake the pattern here. And we'll see probably a nice little stretch to end out January, at least a couple of days there from about the 22nd through the 25th, maybe even longer than that. Again, warmer temperatures going to take back over. It's going to feel a little bit more like spring, not definitely like spring. Again, this is still winter time, but compared to what we're seeing right now, it's going to feel like spring as those warmer temperatures kind of build back in. And the Climate Prediction Center here agrees with that. 8 to 10 day temperature probability. The entire country has a higher chance of being above normal in the temperature department than below normal. Again, from the 22nd of January through about that last week here through the 28th time frame. Again, after this, though, I think I'll show you very quickly on some of our ensembles getting very far out there. As we get kind of back into the beginning of February here, I think there are signs that the cold air takes over once again. You'll notice some troughing once again showing up here, trying to maybe dive southward. That could once again return those winter storm chances into much of the East Coast here to end out to start our February, but really that last week of January looking quite warm for most folks. Alrighty, well again, I appreciate y'all watching. If you haven't already subscribed, definitely consider doing so. The channel's had tremendous growth over the past month or so, and we're looking to keep that up here throughout really the next couple of months. With that said though, again, hope you have a great rest of your Monday, and I'll see you all tomorrow.